Hello again, everyone. Barry Hyatt here in Scottsville at the UK Extension Office with my good friend Janet Johnson, who is back from California, I believe, aren't you?
Yes, from a bucket list trip, a mother-daughter birthday trip, a little early, so that we could see those beautiful waterfalls that are thundering down from the mountains in Yosemite National Park.
How neat.
And sample a little bit of the cuisine of the California coastline, too.
Not a bad trip at all.
Yes, a great trip.
You're going to California. I just got back from Florida, and when you're driving back, you probably flew, but when I was driving back, we drove through Alabama. And there's a place in Alabama called Chilton County, and they have some of the best peaches in the South, and that's the theme today, I think, isn't it? Peaches?
It is the theme. We are jumping the gun a little bit for June to get you ready for peach season in our area. Like you say, in the deeper South, peaches are already probably there.
Yes.
And so if you have the opportunity like you did to bring home some great peaches like that, perfect. Great thing. So the peaches, though, right now that we're finding in the grocery, you might get some people that have it, although darn, here in Kentucky and Tennessee, we had some cold snap weather, and that has done some damage to some of our peach crops. So we may be finding more of those deep South peaches coming up in terms of what we see. But if you need to go to a grocery and find some peaches, let's talk about what to do, because that's exactly what we have today. And you may see the placard call them Eastern peaches. Obviously, they're coming into season sooner. But most of those peaches may be a little smaller. They may not have the sugar content. Okay. Now, as we've said, this recipe today is going to really play to people who need to reduce sugar. Now, we do love our cobblers and we love our fruit pies here in the South, don't we?
Yes, we do.
They are loaded.
I love them too much.
They are loaded with sugar, so we're going to offer an alternative today for reducing that, and then you can vary that and modify that in your own household. A crisp will automatically give you less sugar, carbohydrate, because we are not working with a dough, a minimum amount of flour. We're substituting today some granola, some oats. So we're kind of switching up that carbohydrate kind of thing to have a much smaller amount in this dessert. So if we're now looking at good sugar option, let's talk about those peaches that are probably not fully in season. Most of them that we're purchasing at a store, one, will be smaller. Okay. Two, they probably are going to have less sugar. You may need to leave them actually out on your counter to let them ripen naturally, just a little more before you use them. And then the tricky part, when it calls for sliced peaches, you're like, how do you do that? You know, obviously you need to peel those, and I can give you a tip today that if you take your peach and you will just put it down in some ice water, you will find that when you take your paring knife or your vegetable peeler, that skin will peel off very quickly. So you don't have to lose as much peach in the peeling. So that's one little trick you can do.
Good to know.
Now, the best peach to use for all of the above is going to be a Freestone peach, because they release their pit. And we all know there's a large pit inside that peach. And some peaches and varieties, they cling very tightly to that pit. The flesh clings very tightly, and it's almost impossible to separate that out. So you just have to kind of work around it and peel from it. But with a Freestone peach, you can actually cut that in half, pull it open, and then that pit will peel right away. It's very forgiving.
That's a good thing for this recipe too, I think.
Yes, if you could watch for the Freestone peaches, that's going to be an easier peach to work with. So with that said, any peach will work. We're going to make it work. So what we've done is we have peeled and we have sliced 6 cups of peaches. Now, the longer that you allow your peaches to sit, the more water that's going to begin to collect, obviously. It's just the way it is with fruit, varies everything. So what I do is I put a little bit of an ascorbic acid ingredient. Now, one brand name would be Fruit Fresh, to keep the peaches from darkening, and to try not to use salt or sugar if I don't have to. Now, if we want that traditional crisp, you would put sugar. So again, if you want to enhance the sweetness, but if you really are on a sugar-restricted diet, you don't put anything on the peaches, and you hope that the natural sweetness is going to be enough. This will be more tart. Again, a flavor change. But I'll show you that if you were going to add a little sweetness, you can take some alternative sweetener And those are going to be the sucraloses, whatever, some of the natural sweeteners. Again, some of the stevias that come from chrysanthemums, by the way.
Okay.
You can put a little bit of that over this. That will enhance the sweetness of these early season peaches.
Sure.
So I just did a little bit on there, 2 or 3 packets, whatever your taste is.
Gotcha.
And they're not going to add, again, a high sugar content. Okay, so what we're going to start with here is that we have got the peaches, and we've actually sprayed a baking pan here with some nonstick spray. And we are going to get these ready, and then we're going to set those aside, and again, that will allow that sweetness. So I'll set those over there by you.
Most certainly.
And then we're going to work, and I'm going to get an extra little pan right here for us. We're going to bring out a larger pan, and we're going to create the topping.
Okay.
And this is where you will save, again, some carbohydrate.
Sure.
Like that too. So we're going to do a 1/2 cup of honey sweetened granola.
Okay.
People use this a lot on cereals and oatmeal. Yogurt. Exactly. Yep. We're going to do the same 1/2 cup of oats, quick cook oats, and I'll say that. Now,
say that 3 times fast.
Now, you may notice that the oats that I just put in there have a very different texture. These are called a steel cut.
Okay.
Quick cook oat.
Quick cook, okay.
Yes, quick cook. And so this is going to be a nuttier texture.
Okay.
So it adds some flavor, adds some different texture than the regular oats that you're often thinking of when you get a
like
crisp.
a bigger flake kind of a
Yes,
situation
the bigger
here.
flake on the regular. This is going to be more very tiny, but I think you'd like, I like it. I think you'll like it too.
I'm sure it tastes
So
just as good, yeah.
And then I'm actually using 3 tablespoons of whole wheat flour here.
Okay. Good
And
deal.
we're going to put that in there. That again adds more of a nutty, grainy texture as well.
Sure.
And we're going to use a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Now, we're simply going to mix these dry ingredients, and we're going to use a mixing spoon here. A lot of folks at home, I know that we're getting back to how my granny would have done it. She would have simply pinched all these together, with her fingers. If you want to do that, you go at it. Just wash those hands good first.
Yes, most certainly.
Absolutely. So we just kind of blend again the dry ingredients here, and then we take a 1/4 cup of butter. Some people might want to use margarine, but I'm going to use butter, all right? And you can see that I've taken that 1/4 cup of butter, 1/4 stick, a 1/2 a stick, and I've cut that into small pieces and kept that refrigerated so it's cold.
Right.
So under the lights here, we're going to get a lot of heat though here in the kitchens. So we're going to see how this works. Now I'm going to use a pastry blender. Once again, we're just trying to mix and cut in the butter into the dry ingredients until they're all well blended, and it will take on a crumbly sort of texture as well. So we're just trying to mix it up like that. Once again, you can also use 2 knives if you don't have a pastry blender. I, for one, think this works better than 2 knives, but once, again, you can either put some gloves on, wash your hands good, and you can feel the texture with your fingers. And you can really feel when the dry ingredients are worked in to the solid fat, which in this case is butter.
Right.
Like that. So this is just a similar technique that people have used for all kinds of things, even making pastry, but we're going to use it for the topping here as well. So now we have peaches, and we have, again, dry ingredients to go on the top.
Yes.
So we're simply going to add the peaches over into the pan. Okay.
So they go on the bottom, of course.
They go on the bottom. They do for a crisp, yes. Right. Now, if we were doing a cobbler or some other recipe, a lot of times you will use your batter and then add your fruit later.
Right,
this is the fruit on the bottom with what we're doing. And then we're simply going to come back and we are going to start working with the dry ingredients. Now, I do want you, and I'm sure everyone's saying, what's those blueberries doing there? Okay.
They're here for a reason, I have a feeling.
Well, they are, and I like to, let's say you don't have enough peaches to make 6 cups.
Okay.
And you've got a pint of blueberries around. Well, why not just sprinkle and add those to the cobbler?
Most certainly.
So I want to show you this little variation. So if you have the peaches, great. But if you don't, and this also adds a sweetness naturally to this cobbler. So there you go. So we've added a few little extras right there. Now we're simply going to actually sprinkle this butter and dry ingredient mixture over the top of the fruit. Now, a lot of times with traditional recipes, they would add nuts to this, and that's fine. We're just going to add the nuts a little separately, and we're going to coat those nuts with some spices. Now, where I added a little bit of alternative sweetener, you can also sprinkle cinnamon or spices on the peaches.
Sure.
Okay? So there's a lot of ways to vary what you're doing with this recipe. So now I'm just going to add some nuts on top. And we love our pecans here in the South, don't we?
Pecans. We most certainly do.
We do. So add as many as you want. I'm doing a very small amount, about 1/4 cup. And then I'm just going to sprinkle the spices on top. Now, I'll tell you, this is a spice combination of 3 spices. You can do whatever you want. If you only like cinnamon, we're doing about 1 3/4 teaspoons of spice. So I'm doing a teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm doing about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of, again, allspice. So that's really about 1 1/2, isn't it? But you could do more if you want to.
Sure.
It's to taste. Now, if you don't like nutmeg or you don't like allspice, you can do all cinnamon.
All cinnamon,
you could do some cloves if you would rather have that spice. This is up to you.
Now, how long would we bake this in the oven?
We're going to put this in a preheated 375-degree oven for approximately 25 minutes.
25.
That's
and
all
then
it's
going to be
take.
great after that, I bet.
It is going to be great. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in while we're standing here.
If you want to put ice cream on it, if you so, well, of course, here we go with the sugar thing there, right?
You're adding some sugar back, and the whole point of this crisp today is to really talk about how, if we can just change our mindset about what this needs to taste like. Now, again, I like to try recipes, and my former staff assistants here are kind of my taste testers, and they're like, those peaches just taste like peaches. And I'm like, well, that is the point here, to have less sugar.
And leave the ice cream off then, I guess
Yes,
would be probably the
but
advice
that's
here,
what I'm saying is, if you wanted to sweeten the peaches with the alternative sugar, then that would add some sweetness. Adding the blueberries is going to make a difference by adding some sweetness, and a much more sweeter fruit in its natural state. So if you can't quite go, again, all the way that we have, but this is a wonderful recipe if you have a diabetic in your family and they are really having to really watch sugar, then this is one that kind of begins to let them develop different taste. Because that's what that's all about.
Better for us too, even if we're not.
And it's better for us too. It's kind of had, you got your warm peaches and your crunchy topping, and it's very good. It's just a little different.
A little different.
Little different.
And still will taste great, I guarantee.
It will.
Well, hey, if you guys want this recipe so easy to get, you can get it in a couple of ways. For me, you can email me at North Central. My email address there is barry.hyatt@nctc.com, or simply go to our website. It's www.nctc.com. Also, Janet has another option as well, don't you?
Absolutely. The University of Kentucky's Plated Up Kentucky Proud project. If you simply go into your favorite search engine and type in Plated Up Kentucky Proud recipes, boom. Here comes this recipe by Peaches.
Yeah.
And you search by the commodity that's in season, and you'll find lots of other recipes along with this new, healthier peach crisp.
And it's going to taste fantastic, so you guys should try this as soon as you see this recipe online or on television. So thanks so much, Janet, for all your time today.
Well, thank you, Barry.
It looks great, and we're going to try this right after we wrap this up. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here again real soon.